Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in to this amazing channel, and in this video we are going to be looking at a complete documentation of the AZANI Internet Service Provider. So we were given the question paper and we are going to be tackling the documentation part of it, in which you are supposed to type with Microsoft Word. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I'm going to launch my Word so that we can be viewing the live document from here. So I'm going to zoom in a bit so that we can be seeing what is happening. So for this particular documentation, you had to prepare the document, that is using the SDLC that you learned in Form 3. So that is what is expected. So you remember there were some 7 chapters that were followed when coming up with a system, that is the SDLC. But before that, you have some relevant titles that are here. As you can see on my screen, I have this is just an introduction page, or the page in which you are going to fill in your credentials, your name, and the likes. And then the other part, that is the declaration, in which you mention that the work should be done by you and you only. And then you also have the other part, that is the supervisor declaration as well. That just tries to affirm that the person that was carrying out that task was done by him and him only. And then you have the dedication. This is the part where we normally tackle about who would you like to dedicate this particular project to. If it's your parents, if it's your friends, your relatives, whoever you'd like to make a dedication to, you mention them here as well. And then you have the other bit, that is the acknowledgement. So this particular part is where you mention everyone you would like to acknowledge. That is maybe you'd like to remember them, you'd like to recall them, or maybe give a shout out to. So that is where you do mention that. And then you have a table of contents. This is where you organize your chapters and everything, all the relevant titles, you organize them up to the last chapter. As you can see on my screen, I have up to chapter 7. That is on page 52. And then below here I also have a list of figures. So that is what I do use. So this is what we are having right now, and it's up to date. So you have to start on the first chapter, that is problem recognition and definition. The second stage is normally information gathering. The third stage is requirement specification. The fourth stage is system design. The fifth stage is system coding. And then you have the sixth stage, that is system testing. And the last stage is system review and maintenance. So milestone 1 goes all the way to chapter 4, that is the system design stage. So in this first chapter, you don't do much of design work, you just do much of typing, where you introduce us, you give us a brief information about the company, what does the particular company deal with. So in this case, you have a history of the company, that the AZANI Internet Service Provider is a scheme that is initiated by the AZANI company to give the maybe for provision of internet services. And then you further come and say that in this case we say that the company offers internet related services, that is specifically to institutions that are first registered in their AZANI company, and as you know, when you register, you make a fee payment of 8,500, and then the company also offers various internet services. So if I take you back, or if you go back to the question paper, you saw that there were different bandwidths that were offered by this company, that were ranging from 4 Mbps all the way to 50 Mbps. So and those bandwidths were priced differently. So an institution will visit a site to inspect its readiness for internet installation. Things like users who are being recorded, the number of users, the computing infrastructure, and the LAN setup that was available there. So maybe the other part that would be set up was is if, for instance, the computing infrastructure isn't that ready, so you might decide to buy some computers from AZANI at a different price. So but the computers were fixed at 40,000, and then the LAN nodes also are differently priced. If you are purchasing from 2 to 10 nodes, there is a price. From 10 to 20 nodes, there is a different price as well. So we have that. And also the last thing, the other thing that the company was offering was to upgrade. So there is upgrade options to the institutions, for instance, but this is normally on the bandwidth, the internet bandwidth. So if you are on a 4 Mbps package and you'd like to update this to a 10 Mbps package, you are being offered a 10% discount. But choosing a lower bandwidth does not give you any particular discount. And then all the institutions using the internet will have to pay by the end of the month, failure to which you will be subcharged a 15% fine on the amount that you are supposed to pay. So if you are on a 4 Mbps at a cost of 1,200, if you don't pay by the end of the month, you'll be charged a 15% fine. That is 15% of 1,200. But again, if for instance the next month or the coming month you surpass, or you go beyond the 10th day of the next month, you will be automatically disconnected and required to pay a reconnection fee of 1,000, in addition to the monthly bill and the overdue fine. That is the 15% of the package that you are in. The 1,000 was for reconnection. So that is just an introduction of the company, so you have to mention things like those. And then the other thing you have to go about is the system analysis, that is the problem definition. Now you start defining the problem as well. You need a centralized and efficient, organized system for registration, for internet subscriptions, for equipment purchase, the fee collection, and subscription upgrades. And then you can tell us that maybe the current system is using a manual or kind of a system to make these recordings. So, and you can mention that this manual process would lead to difficulties in tracking substitutions, managing funds, and rules such as the monthly subscriptions and bandwidth upgrades. Yeah, and then you have to mention all that. And then you have to tell us that the system should be thoroughly documented to ensure the users and administrators have clear, comprehensive instructions for operation and ongoing maintenance. So you need to prepare documentation. That is this one that we are currently viewing here. You need to have such a documentation that the other users can be able to know what is happening with your particular system. So I'm going to move my camera there so that you can be seeing what is happening. So the other part that you can mention is the overview of the existing system, such that the existing system on the AZANI Internet Company does rely on manual processes. So in this particular bit, what you're supposed to mention is what the system is currently using. Is it a manual process, or do they have an outdated system? Or you just give a brief overview of what the company is currently using, and then you can be able to maybe break down the processes that are involved. For instance, the institution registration, and okay, enrollment shouldn't be there. It is institution registration, because you cannot enroll an institution. So you can mention that maybe the current mode of registration is done manually by paperwork or files, yeah. And then you mention that these can be tedious and requires the database management system to capture this data, because once the data is saved, you don't have to worry about it getting lost and things like those. And then the service registration and payments, you can mention that the fees, the payments, the subscriptions all are done manually, and in this case this leads to errors, because if the papers get lost, then the records will be lost as well. And then we can break down and say that on the new system, payments will be captured digitally, including these registration fees, the installation fees, the monthly bandwidth charges based on the service level. So the 4 Mbps package, so this just means the different packages that are charged differently, and then the institutions that are upgrading the bandwidth will receive a 10% discount on the next higher bandwidth. And then you can also mention and say that the system will also compute overdue fines, that is 15%, and some reconnection fees of 1,000. And then you have the infrastructural requirements. You can just mention, because this system has various components. You have the infrastructure, you have the services, and you have the institutions. So in this particular bit, you can say that maybe the current infrastructure requirement maybe is recorded on paper manually, or you can just mention the other part that they are using, or whatever they are using to record these transactions. And then you can mention and say that in the computerized system, the infrastructure requirements, is the computers, LAN nodes, will be captured and stored. And then you can also mention that personal computers again are purchased at this particular amount, and then the LAN nodes are recorded according to cost breakdowns. For example, for 10 to 20 nodes, you purchase at for 10,000, and then the 41 to 100 nodes also have a different pricing. And then here, okay, we do not have events, we have services management. So you can mention that scheduling of services are currently done using handwritten documentation that is often misplaced. And then you can mention that the computer system will generate structured reports including list of registered institutions, the list of defaulters. Defaulters are those that have pending unpaid bills to the company, and then institutions with disconnection issues, and then you have infrastructure details per institutions. Then we have the record keeping and documentation. We have all the records, that is institutions. Okay, you now have events, members, that is the institutions, financial transaction expenses are currently stored on paper. So the computerized DBMS will do all of these. Will compute the total installation cost, will compute cost of assorted services, and generate monthly charges, including upgrades, due fines, and connection fees. And then we have aggregate amounts per institution for accountability. And then you can wrap that up with the overall need, and say that the manual system has a bit of challenges, and then the proposed system will do this and that. So there is that particular part. And then we have the overview of the proposed system. So we just give a system overview, that is what in detail, what in short is your proposed system intending to do. in short, if you come up with this particular system, what is it going to be doing? What is it going to be achieving? What is it going to be? What is expected of it? So that is what you mention in this particular bit here. And then after you do that, you can go sorry for that, you can go to the objectives of the intended system. So these are now what is your system going to achieve when or what are the plans of your system. That is what we have here. In this case, to maintain a centralized database for whatever. So we have all that, all the objectives, you have to list them here. So that is, objectives are what your system is intended to be solving, or what is being expected of this particular system. So this, in this particular part, is just an overview. The system maybe will have some reports, we have some tables, we generate some financial transactional reports. But in this case, we have the objectives of this intended system. That is, you have to list them down there, just like I did. I wrote 10 of them. And then we go to the other part, that is the benefits of the intended system. In this case is what profit or what benefit will we realize when we start using this particular system. So that is what we are having. So that is basically what we are having in this case. So the benefits you can mention is like the advantages of your system. So you can have enhanced accuracy and efficiency, improved data security, reduced administrative workload, improved compliance. So we have all that there. And then you go to the other part, that is the scope of this system. So the scope is it's like the boundaries in which your particular system is going to cover up. So in this case, you can just mention a brief of them. Just is like it will handle the institution registration, also the registration installation fee payments, the monthly bandwidth payments, the transaction keeping, the reports and analytics, infrastructural management, the user access control, the notifications and reminders, the data backup and security, the system scalability and integration. So this is just a brief scope of what our system would be having. And then we have the cost and benefit analysis. So this is just a feasibility study we are calling out so that we can see if this particular project is going to be doable. So you have to carry out a feasibility study. In this case, is what we are doing here. So I did that. So you can maybe say this particular system is going to be of benefit because of these particular reasons there. And then you can have some cost breakdown. In this case, I also added that according to my cost, I'm going to have an ROI of about 7%. So that is what you do that, and then you go ahead and do the feasibility study. So this is maybe feasibility study, you just examine funds. Do the funds that are there, are they particularly enough to cover out to kick off this particular project? So, and you have to consider some 4 types of feasibility. So in this case, you can mention the economic feasibility, the technical feasibility, and the operational feasibility. You can also have schedule feasibility if you'd like to add. So schedule feasibility just tries to explain to us that this particular project is going to be completed in this particular timeline. For our case, we are given 7 months. So that is what you mentioned, that the project is going to be taken in 7 months, and maybe you resolved with your team that you are going to be meeting more often, so that you can be discussing, or you can view the objectives that you set up for this particular project. And then you have the economic feasibility. And this is just to determine the finances of the project. And then you have the technical feasibility, is just to examine the technology that is there, the computers, the developers, the team, the setup, and the likes. Then you have the operational feasibility, that is the operation. Here you just examine the operation of this particular project by maybe examining efficiencies and the likes. And then we have the data illustration. So this is another part, but it's not a type of feasibility. It's just a data illustration. So in this case, you can just tell us that you had a sample data set to maybe come up with the potential outcome. That is, for instance, you might be having some 100 users subscribing to the 10 Mbps package. So if this 10 Mbps package is going for 2,000, you have 100 users, then you can be having a generation or a possible income of 2,000 times 100. Yeah, that is, I don't know if it's 2 million or 200,000. I don't know. You can multiply that, and then you can also do that. So you can just maybe mention that it will generate a potential 525,000 according to my case study here. So that is what I did. And then the conclusion, you have based on the findings, it is feasible for the this system to be developed. So that is what we are having. And then we go ahead to the second chapter, that is the information gathering. The information gathering, we have here you have to mention that because for you to develop this system, you need to have some facts, or you need to have some data about the operation of this particular system. And by doing that, you require us to do what we call data gathering. In this case, you have to use the data gathering methods. We have a couple of them, but for me, I used the group discussions, the document analysis. We also have some questionnaires, and we have some workshops. Workshops are just similar related stuff, or you can find a similar internet providing company and maybe question them about some facts and data, and from there you can deduce some data or some discrepancies that might be there and the likes. And then after you do that, now you give us a conclusion of what you are finding out, and then the summary of the fact finding methods. And maybe you can give us some points here, that is what you saw with the what you observed during the data gathering. So this is what you give us here. And then you can lastly mention that the fact finding methods really push for a computerized database management system that can maybe solve these particular challenges that are there. And then you are through with the information gathering. And then just to add, maybe when we are doing this, you might also decide to come up with diagrams for the questionnaires, but it's not a must. But if you'd like to come up with questionnaires, you can also diagram them here. But in my case, I choose not to, because I can just give a summary of what I received from the questionnaires. And then we go to the other chapter, the second last chapter. That is the chapter 3, that is the system requirements and specification. So in this case, you have to specify the hardware and software requirements, so that so this particular bit is just easy. It's just to specify what is the hardware requirements for us to be able to run this particular system. So if for instance we require a computer, the name of the computer and the cost, and then we also require printers for printing the reports. We also require a flash disk to maybe store the system, the power backup just in case power goes off, the memory, that is the RAM. You have the storage disk, you can mention the same, and then you have the total there. Then you give some factors when you are going to purchase hardware. Those are the ones that you learned in Form 1. That is upgradability, authenticity, user friendliness, warranty, and the compatibility. So you do not want to buy a Mac OS based computer because, okay, not a Mac OS but a Linux based computer, because it's not going to be supporting this particular system because it uses Microsoft Access. Then you have the software requirements. So you require an operating system, in this case Microsoft Windows 11 or 10, or any Windows that supports Microsoft Office. Then you can also break down the cost for that. Then you have the application packages or the program, that is Microsoft Office 2013 with the Microsoft Access installed in it. Then you can also require a Net Explorer like Microsoft Edge, that is free. This is because maybe you might be wanting to troubleshoot some issues, or maybe trying to contact us. You might require a browser. So that is what you mention here. And then factors to consider when purchasing software, you also mention them there as well. And then now you go ahead to the system requirements. So you have the functional requirements. These are just the functions that have to be done by the system. So this is where you do that. So you break down all that here. And then you have the non-functional requirements. So these are just to maybe provide security for this particular system, so that the data integrity can be maintained. So you can mention them there as well and explain a bit. And then after you are through with that, you go to the system design. This is the last part. So in this case, you just cover the system flowchart, and then you can try to break down how the flow goes. And then as you can see, I have my diagram. So that is how it goes. So in this particular part, you just break down and maybe try to give us the flow of how it goes. I'm going to skip the flow chart because you have to come up with one. And then I'm going to go directly to the modules. So modules are as well a part of the flow chart that can be used to perform some different tasks like institution registration. You have a module there. So I just have that one as an example. And then we have the grouping of variables. So this is just to the grouping of, these are now the actual design of the tables comes in. So you have to design these ones as well. So you have this group is all about keeping. So you come up with some different groups. Like for me, I came up with the institutions, the payments, and the installation, that is the investigation. Then you have to mention the attributes that are being considered in those particular groups and maybe mention or explain it. And then now after that we have the other part is the input design. So after you are done with the flowchart and the modules, you have and also the grouping of variables, we have the input design. So this is where you start to design your tables, as you've seen me do there. You design them like that. You design, and also you have the form design as well. You design your forms there. So you require at least 4 forms. So I've designed mine like that. So you design your forms like that, and then you also design your reports, or how is the report going to look like in Microsoft Access. You also design the same here. I also designed some 4 reports like that. And then the last part is the general system security. It is just to ensure that the system stays secure, and you can be able to trust it with the data that you are going to feed it. And maybe you can mention some things about biometric access, encryption of data, and multi-factor authentication. Things like 2FA, that is a 2-factor authentication, is what you can maybe mention. from this particular case, and then you just give a summary of all those factors, and then you can end by saying we will make sure that all the data is going. These measures that have been set up here are going to make the system a bit more secure, and the user access can be controlled, and you can end that there. We are going to go to chapter 5, that is system coding. In this case, there are some particular important topics you have to consider. The first one is the introduction part of it, and then in this case you just mention some basic software requirements. In this case you just come and mention that in our case we require a GUI based operating system. You also have the Microsoft Access application software. You also need an antivirus software, and the other part that you can mention is the hardware requirements, just like I've listed there. And then the other part you give is the installation step. This is like a manual you are giving here. So these are the installation steps because of how you had designed your particular system. And then you can mention that after you launch the system, this particular dashboard, this particular form is going to be displayed, and then you can also give the credentials for logging in. In this case I give mine there, and then you can continue after you are done. I'm going to remove this space, and then you can have that. Then you can have some data manipulation. This case is just this in our case we are managing the forms or the operations through a common switchboard, so we are using this one, as you can see on my screen. And then you can also go ahead and show the forms for various functions, such as adding a new institution there, and inspecting a site as well there, the subscription as well there, if you'd like an institution to get connected to the internet. There is that particular form that we are going to use here. And then we have the other form for managing subscriptions. You will illustrate that as well. And then we have the other part, that is the reports. So you have to show where the reports. In my case, from my system, they were in this particular position. Then you can as well show us some samples of the reports that you are having, such as the subscriptions, the registered institutions, the defaulters report, the disconnected institutions, the infrastructure requirements, and the monthly charges as well. And then you can also have some advanced features, such as this particular extra report. And then you can also offer some troubleshooting guide for some common issues that can arise as you are using the system. So you have to mention them there, and also the troubleshooting possibilities for the same. Then we go to the second last chapter, that is system implementation. So here you consider some aspects, such as staff training, the changeover strategies, and you'll be done with that particular part. So staff training, because remember this is a new system in which it will be required that the users or the new users get to know how to operate this particular system. So that is what we are breaking down here. And then we have the changeover strategies. So this is just to show how will you transit from using old data to these new data. So remember, there were some different changeover strategies that we usually have. We have the parallel, we have the straight, and we have the pilot changeover. So it will depend on whatever you want to use. For the parallel, maybe as for me, I think it's the most convenient, because you'll be having both systems running besides each other. This is advantageous because if, for instance, the new system crashes, you will not have lost a lot of data than when compared to the other type of changeover, the straight changeover, where you cease using the old system and immediately start using the new system. So that is inconvenient, maybe when the data is lost and you don't have a backup. So in my case, I consider the pilot phase. In this pilot phase is where you test a system using some sample data, so that you see if it will meet the requirements, or the required or its objectives, to meet its objectives. So you use some dummy data. In this case, what I considered, but you can consider using some other phases as well. And then I can mention that the steps that will be involved, like these ones I listed here. We have data migration, the training, the testing, the feedback, and now after that we have the full rollout after you complete the pilot phase. And then these are some of the steps again that will be full rollout is now handing over the system to the owners. So you have the communication, data migration, training, testing, support, and evaluation. So those are what you do consider in chapter 6. Because chapter 6 is just trying to tell us how will the system change from, or how will it begin to transition from where it was developed up to reaching to the end users, so the AZANI company in this case. Then we have the last chapter, that is chapter 7, that is system review and maintenance. This is not much of what you can maybe try to type out, but the main idea here is the resolutions that you and your team will make to come maybe after a short period of time and check on the progress of the system, and maybe determine, is it meeting the required objectives, or the set objectives? Does it meet the objectives? Does it require an upgrades? How often will you be coming and checking the progress of the system, or how the system is doing, and also maintaining where it is necessary to? So and then the other part you can mention is the challenges that you encountered. Maybe there are maybe a good example of this is the computers were not that adequate, or the manpower was not that adequate while developing the system. The funds were not adequate, or the time was not enough, or the training, or the personnel, that the software engineers that were writing that program, they weren't skilled enough, and maybe that was a challenge. And also testing, so you can mention that. And then the other part you can also mention is the strength of the system. And now you can tell us the strengths of this new particular system. What has it brought to the AZANI company? And then you can also have the weakness. Mainly it's usually one, it doesn't allow for multiple registrations and adding of records, because it's just because you just used Microsoft Access, in which at a time you can only be inputting one entry. So which means if you want to enter a couple of records, like 100 records, you have to enter each and every one of them one by one, and that again is time consuming. Then you can lastly now give your recommendations. The recommendation in this case is just what you'd like to, or what you'd recommend, so that the system remains stable, efficient, and secure as well. So I gave some 4 recommendations, and then you can have your conclusion. So there is conclusion from what you've developed, or what you can conclude and mention. And then you have a bibliography, to just a reference to which books you read, so that you can get the knowledge to develop such a system. And then you have the appendix, that is the what do we call them, these short forms, these initials. You can maybe try to elaborate them in full. For instance, KSH is Kenya shillings, RAM is random access memory, TB is a terabyte, is a unit of storage, SQL is structural query language, that is used to create the system itself, because we are dealing with the records, and then GB is a gigabyte, and any other words that any other initials that you may have written in short form, you mention them there, and you'll be good to go. So yeah, that is all, guys. That is the full documentation of this particular system. So thank you again for staying tuned and watching up to this far. And also don't forget to watch our video on the full project as well. That is the both database and documentation. We've uploaded it. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching.